The completion code, the mind's blueprint to overcoming perfectionism and embracing good enough. Have you ever found yourself trapped in the endless loop of refining, tweaking, and editing, convinced that your work isn't ready for the world until it's absolutely, impossibly flawless? This state of perpetual self-correction, often mislabeled as diligence, is actually a form of self-sabotage known as perfectionism paralysis. It's the deep-seated fear that the moment you declare something finished, it becomes vulnerable to judgment, and your vulnerability will reveal an underlying inadequacy. In this episode of The Mind's Blueprint, we delve into the core psychology of this creative block, revealing the blueprint to activating your completion code, a powerful mechanism that shifts your focus from flawless creation to impactful execution. Alex was an immensely talented graphic designer and photographer, with an eye for detail that bordered on genius. His digital files were a labyrinth of exquisite, near-perfect projects, a logo with 50 different subtle shading variations, a photography portfolio with dozens of unreleased, impeccably edited shots, and a website design that was 99% complete but never launched. His problem wasn't a lack of ability, it was the last 10% syndrome. He would spend 90% of the time getting a project to an outstanding level and the final 10% agonizing over microscopic flaws that no one else would ever notice. He felt an intense, stomach-churning anxiety whenever he considered hitting the send or publish button. This resistance created a crippling professional reality. He had a stunning body of work, yet his portfolio remained thin, his income stagnant, and his confidence perpetually low. He was constantly comparing his unfinished work to the finished best work of others, a cycle that only deepened his paralysis. The secret, silent truth was that his perfectionism was not a standard of excellence. It was a psychological shield against the crushing weight of public scrutiny. If it wasn't finished, it couldn't be criticized, and his identity as a potential genius remained safely intact. His mentor, Lena, was a highly successful, prolific creative director who had built her reputation on rapid iteration and impactful delivery. She saw the talent simmering beneath Alex's layers of anxiety. One afternoon, while reviewing Alex's folders filled with beautiful, unreleased designs, she shook her head. "Alex," she said, her voice direct but kind, "your best work is currently locked in a beautiful prison, and the key is your fear. Perfectionism is just procrastination in a fancy suit. The blueprint for genius isn't in eliminating all flaws, it's in accepting good enough and shipping it. Your value isn't in your immaculate files, it's in the impact your work has on the world." Lena explained that the perfectionist's mind is trapped by all-or-nothing thinking. If it isn't perfect, it's garbage. She introduced him to the concept of the completion code, a set of mental protocols designed to override the inner critic's demand for flawlessness and prioritize the invaluable data gained from real-world feedback. It's about shifting the goalpost from a flawless product to a productive process. She gave him a 3-step blueprint for building a mind that understands that done is better than perfect. If you've ever felt paralyzed by the thought of finishing something, hit that subscribe button to join our community and discover more blueprints for your mind. Lena's blueprint was designed to rewire Alex's relationship with time, quality, and failure. practice the minimum viable launch (MVL) technique. The first step was to change his definition of finished. For any project, he had to define the absolute simplest version of the work that could be shown or used, and he had to commit to launching that version by a specific near-future deadline. The goal was to force the habit of completion and delivery itself, regardless of perceived quality. This was about interrupting the cycle of endless refinement by prioritizing a tangible endpoint. Use the feedback loop focus technique. He was to stop viewing flaws as personal failures and start seeing them as valuable, actionable data points. When he received criticism, he was to mentally reframe it as a gift of information necessary for the next iteration. He had to consciously thank the critique, separating the message, "this needs fixing," from the messenger's intent, which the perfectionist assumes is always, "you are flawed." This turned external judgment from a personal attack into a necessary step in the creative process. Alex began to apply the blueprint, and the initial mental battle was intense. Implementing the minimum viable launch, MVL, was physically uncomfortable. The moment he cut a project short of his usual 100-hour refinement, his hands would itch to go back and fix the slight misalignment, the subtle color shift. But he forced himself to define the simplest, most fundamental version of a new client website and set a launch date for 7 days out. His breakthrough came when he used the feedback loop focus technique. The MVL website launched, and a few hours later, a client emailed pointing out a major navigation flaw that made a key page difficult to find. The old Alex would have instantly crumbled, spiraling into shame and confirming his deepest fear that his work wasn't good enough. The new Alex paused. He mentally said, "This is not failure, this is data." He quickly fixed the flaw and then realized the profound truth. The client had focused on the function of the flaw, not the character of the designer. The vulnerability wasn't fatal, it was instructive. This knowledge empowered him to master the final step of the blueprint. Build the failure as volume metric. This was the psychological cornerstone of the completion code. He was to shift his internal metric of success away from flawless quality and toward completed volume. For every project, he had to set a target for iterations and attempts, not quality ratings. He was to view his completed work as a volume knob. Turning it up meant more finished products, more feedback, and ultimately a higher chance of hitting excellence through sheer velocity. This ritual was crucial for normalizing small failures and reframing them as necessary stepping stones. The ultimate test came when Alex decided to apply for a highly coveted art director position. The application required an extensive portfolio, and he knew his tendency toward paralysis would ruin the opportunity. He committed to creating 10 new pieces for the portfolio in 30 days, a time frame his old self would have deemed impossible. He used the MVL technique, limiting his editing time to 4 hours per piece, even if he felt they were only 90% perfect. The process was agony. With one project, his inner critic screamed, "The typography here is derivative, duh. Stop and find a custom font." But Alex enacted the completion code. He reminded himself of the failure as volume metric. The goal is to complete 10 pieces, not to perfect one. I'm choosing volume over paralysis. He used the feedback loop focus to seek quick, rough critiques from Lena, who consistently told him, "It's 95% perfect. Ship it." The only thing missing is an audience. He submitted the portfolio, feeling a raw, terrifying vulnerability. It was his most flawed portfolio, but it was also his first finished one. A week later, he got the job. When he asked the creative director why his portfolio stood out, the director didn't mention the immaculate editing. He said, "Your work is great, but honestly, we were impressed by the sheer volume and variety you delivered in a short time. It showed us you could execute and ship, which is the rarest trait in this business." Alex realized that his paralysis had cost him years of opportunity. By embracing the completion code, he had learned that excellence is not an event that happens at the start. It's a measurable outcome that happens over time, driven by iteration, volume, and the courage to declare a project finished. He finally understood that the true genius lies not in the perfect start, but in the deliberate, consistent completion. You are not defined by the flaws you eliminate. By understanding and embracing the blueprint of your completion code, you can transform perfectionism paralysis into a relentless engine of creative success and impact. Join us next time to uncover more of the mind's blueprint, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more insights into the human mind.